Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FTR's, but hey, it's something. Now, the main topic of this video is going to be contentious, to say the least. At least for some people. Some people are going to be saying, hooray, finally you tackled this elephant in the room, and some people will get mad, but me, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. My views are my views. They don't reflect the views on anyone else. I can say whatever I want. It's my show. So anyways, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to start off with the biggest one. I don't have a specific article because there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. So, Bernie, he had, at the very least, it looks like a mild heart attack. Now, the mainstream media has been amping up like the heart attack part, but has been kind of downgrading certain other parts. Like, here's what happened. Bernie was at a campaign rally. Then he said, "Oh, my chest hurts." Then some of the people around him says like, "Yo, Bernie, maybe you should go to a doctor." "Okay, I will do that." They go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Yo, bro, you have a blocked artery. Let's fix that with 2 stents." He gets the stents in. 3 days later, he's like, "Yeah, I'm perfectly fine." Then he just gets back on the campaign trail. I think he's at home for the time being. He's going to rest for a little bit. But he will be returning for the October debate. He will be participating in the October debate. That is what he said. He said, "I'm returning for the October debate." So he's like, yeah, he's fine at the moment. But the thing is, a lot of people have been taking this in different ways. The biggest crowd that has been taking this is the mainstream media and the Hillary cultists, I guess. You know, the ones, like there was a girl who tweeted like, the notification when I saw that Bernie had a heart attack, and it shows like a picture of a lady laughing. And it's like, wow, that's great taste, guys. Just great taste. When Hillary Clinton was having a seizure, I bet you were just like, ah ha. And the mainstream media has been amping up in their headlines, "Bernie had a heart attack. Bernie had a heart attack. He had a heart attack. He had a heart attack." They're not really going into the specifics. Like, even I had a family member that's like, "Yeah, Bernie had a heart attack." I'm like, well, I mean, there's more specifics to that. It wasn't like grab chest, fall to the ground, and then he's like, it's not like he had a stroke where now half of his body is not functioning. He had chest discomfort, went to the doctor, and got it fixed. And as far as we can tell, there's nothing else apparently wrong. But the mainstream media has been saying like, "Oh, but he's like what is he hiding? What's he hiding that is ruining everything and all that stuff?" Like, dude, he's not really, there's nothing to hide. It wasn't that serious, I guess. It was serious, but it wasn't like serious. It's not like the kind of thing where you get a phone call from a family member saying you have to come here now. It's severe. Like, and many people are even saying like this might hurt his chances politically. And now I'm kind of like, hold on a second. Wait, hold on. The man has a heart attack. Then 3 days later, gets right back on the campaign trail. Doesn't seem like it'll hurt his chances. It seems like it makes his chances better. Because, you know, if he's getting right back to work during after having a heart attack, especially when the mainstream media keeps saying like it was bad. I mean, doesn't that show he's a fighter in a sense? And one thing that many people seem to forget is our presidents were the most unhealthy people on the planet. Like, they were having strokes and heart attacks and transplants and all this stuff all the time. Like Dwight D. Eisenhower, right before he announced his re-election campaign, had a massive heart attack. And it was only because he was near a hospital that he lived. But he's like, yeah, I'm fine now. LBJ had a massive heart attack for a while. And, well, he did fine. They didn't say, like, oh, this hurts his chances for electability. Sorry, I can't talk for some reason. Maybe I'm secretly having a stroke. Haha. Joke, but that would be a serious medical condition. But anyways, the next story, which is somewhat important. Not an important guy, but it's important, I guess. Bullock to seek public financing for 2020 bid. Montana Governor Steve Bullock will apply to receive public financing for a struggling presidential campaign. In a memo Monday, Bullock's campaign manager, Jennifer Ritter, cast the decision to seek out public funds for his presidential bid as a show of the governor's commitment to campaign finance reform, an issue that he has put at the center of his campaign since announcing his candidacy in May. As the only candidate for president who is choosing to participate in the public finance process, Governor Bullock is leading with his values and defending our shared belief that our democracy should never be for sale for the highest bidder. Here's a better idea. Why don't you publicly finance a Senate bid? Like, I mean, I'm not going to support you in your Senate bid, but you can. And the thing is, like, Bullock, I guess you could say, is principled, but the fact that he's going through this model is obviously an indicator that his campaign is not doing hot. Like, other candidates seem to be doing fine with donations, but, you know, not all of them, apparently. So anyway, speaking of donations, a lot of the campaign donations for the third quarter have been released, and here's what it showed. Currently, Bernie Sanders is in the lead with $25.3 million raised for the third quarter. Elizabeth Warren coming in second with $24.6 million. Pete Buttigieg with $19.1 million. Joe Biden with $15.12 million. Kamala Harris with $11.6 billion. I'm saying million, right? Not billion. Andrew Yang with $10 million. And we get a massive drop to Cory Booker with $6 million. Then we cut that in half to get Marianne Williamson with $3 million. Steve Bullock with $2.3 million. And then Michael Bennet with $2.1 million. But I think those are the only ones that have released their third quarter donations. Wayne Messam hasn't released his third quarter donations? I'm so shocked. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of these candidates are doing well in donations at the moment. But the thing is, one candidate had some issues getting it known. You see, Andrew Yang, a lot of the, like, as you can see, Andrew Yang, he's in the top 5. But a lot of the times when they would show the top 5, Yang would be excluded. So there's a graphic out there that's like Bernie, Buttigieg, Biden, Harris, and Booker. Now, Warren released hers later than the rest of them. I think some, like, the mainstream media used the excuse, oh, we just didn't have your donations. And some of them did correct it. But some didn't correct it. Because, you know, they probably don't even consider Andrew Yang serious. When, you know, at this point, he is. He's the 6th highest polling candidate. He's receiving a lot of money to his campaign. I think at this point, Yang has succeeded in becoming a mainstream candidate, which he wouldn't have been able to do if he didn't have my seal of somewhat approval back in, like, not January. It was the second episode of my show. I gave Andrew Yang a spotlight. I gave him his own section of the video, I guess, where I talked about his candidacy, said that, like, oh, UBI is an interesting idea, and Yang has given me nothing in response. Yang won't give me an interview nonetheless. Yang is that guy who's like, I'll never forget you when I become rich and famous. But he has. He probably didn't even know I existed. I should have tagged him when the episode came out. That would have been cool. He would have been like, oh, thank you. You were so cool, or something. I don't know. The only people who've responded to me that are actual big politicians that have actually been elected are Jared Huffman and Earl Blumenauer. And Jared Huffman was really mean to me for some reason. Like, Jared Huffman, I said, like, you know, Jared Huffman, maybe you shouldn't team up with Bill Kristol. And he's like, well, maybe if the Eye of Sauron was telling me to impeach Trump, then I would team up with the Eye of Sauron. It's like, you might as well have said, if Hitler said that he was going to impeach Trump, I would be with Hitler. Because, you know, I don't know anything about the Lord of the Rings, but I'm pretty sure Sauron's the bad guy. A big evil eyeball, I think he's the bad guy, right? You know, maybe you shouldn't be teaming up with that guy. Now on to more serious matters, eating babies. Let me explain. You see, there was an AOC town hall where a person there said that in order to combat climate change, they need to eat babies. Now, many people on the right wing of the political spectrum are like, aha, see, the crazed leftists out there want us to eat our babies. However, it turns out that the woman was a plant. Not just any plant, a plant of our good old political prankster and conspiracy theorist and possible anti-Semite, possible racist, possible homophobe, Lyndon LaRouche, everyone. LaRouche Pack is back. LaRouche Pack has made it very clear that they were the ones responsible for doing this. And as it pains me to say it, Joe Lieberman is correct on something again. Joe Lieberman said in an interview, like at a political debate, like, there's no political event in the past, like, 30-something years that Lyndon LaRouche hasn't protested. And it's true. I guess it's true again. If I ever run for political office, if I ever become a member of political office, I 100% I'm going to be doing political rallies waiting for someone of LaRouche Pack. I want someone of... Anybody who's a member of LaRouche Pack who's watching this, listen to me now. If I ever become a member of political office, go to my rallies and scream at me. I'm going to shout you guys out. I'm going to be like, oh, you LaRouche Pack, here you guys are. They're going to take this out of context and be like, see... Congressman Mercado promotes and supports LaRouche Pack. I don't support LaRouche Pack. LaRouche, he's... I don't know. There's too much info to read about Lyndon LaRouche. He's got a weird, interesting political history. Like, how do you go from a far leftist to a far rightist, like, in a blink of an eye? But anyways, let's talk about Rick Perry. Rick Perry is expected to resign, which kind of stinks, to be honest. Because Rick Perry, as much as I hate the man and I think he's completely stupid and inept and stupid, Rick Perry seemed to be the one member of Trump's cabinet nobody really gave a shit about. Like, people made fun of Rick Perry for, like, the first day and was like, wait a minute, you wanted to abolish the Department of Energy. Now you're the guy in charge of it. And then there was, like, crickets for 3 years. And then this year he did something, he fell for, like, a stupid Facebook prank. People were like, Rick Perry, you so stupid. And then he faded away again. Like, nobody seemed to give a shit, really. And I mean, I would have actually been fine if Rick Perry was the one member of the Trump cabinet that just eased on by. He managed to go through all 4 years and just never really did anything impactful. But then, there was another impactful moment because Trump is now pinning the call on Ukraine on Rick Perry. The thing that he said, like, it's a total witch hunt. Now he's saying, Rick Perry, he's the one who did it. He's the one who told me to call Ukraine. It's like, dude, if you're going to pick a story. Did you just say it was a witch hunt and that it never happened? Now you're saying Rick Perry caused it to happen. Dude, pick a side, pick a story. But anyways, with all of this bad news out of the way, we need some good news. What's the good news?
Tired of the Democratic establishment cheating him, and he's decided to run as an independent.
Against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a rematch.
We're going back at her. We want to finish this job that we started.
Tim, the second you make it official, you're on my site. That's all I have to say on that, because, Tim, he's had an interesting history with the electoral politics, running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in 2016 with the stamp of approval of Bernie Sanders, and then having Bernie kind of distance himself from the Canova campaign, then having the ballots just destroyed, then running again as an independent with conveniently 5% of each individual group making up his electorate. Convenient, almost as if it was rigged. But yeah, I'm fully supportive of the Tim Canova candidacy, and would be happy to have the dude on my show if he wanted. I mean, back in 2018, he was like, I made like a list of 10 seats that I wanted to like keep on, like I had like a list of 10 seats that I wanted to have win. Like I was like, if I had to pick 10 of my endorsements to win in the 2018 midterms, I'd pick these 10. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Kevin De Leon, Zach Ringelstein, Stacey Abrams, Mark Brzaitis, he was an independent running against Joe Manchin in the Senate, Richard Ojeda, Randy Bryce, Kenneth Mejia, Robert Francis O'Rourke. I regret that decision, but the last one was Tim Canova. If Tim won, I would have been happy because would have been no more Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And Tim was making a scene of like, hey, if you're going to not seat these two Republicans, I mean, if you're not going to seat this Republican in North Carolina due to electoral fraud, what about Debbie Wasserman Schultz? And nobody paid attention. They were just like, nah, that's not important. But anyways, now on to the smaller presidential candidate of the day. It's very interesting. It's really weird. And I might need to explain to all you old people out there for some reason. Pete Acenturo. He's a YouTuber, voice actor, comedian, and spokesperson. You may know him by his internet alias, VoiceOver Pete. VoiceOver Pete, basically, here's pretty much what he would do. This was his job. You pay him money, he says whatever you want. Another more famous one of his stature is Big Man Tyrone, who is also political because Big Man Tyrone became the president of Kyrgyzstan. Politics is very serious, guys. We have this African priest man become the president of a fake country talking about anime women. It's very serious. But back to VoiceOver Pete. Pete, he is not really political in nature, but he has made some political statements, like he's an advocate for free speech online. That's a good thing. He expresses disdain over big tech corporations like Facebook, saying that they're, quote, "Our data is mined like toilet paper." He opposed the EU Article 13. He announced that he was running for president by filing with the FEC under the ACE party. And when asked why he was running for president, he said that he would want to see a party of common sense. He would remove gridlock for 2 years, and that we can get back to the efficiency that we have today. Okay, oh no, wait. He says remove the gridlock for 2 years and then go back to the inefficiency we have today. He wants to advocate for content creators who are stifled by social media platforms. So pretty much, in a way, he could hypothetically be the Pirate Party candidate if he chose. But I mean, the Pirate Party is way too occupied with doing literally nothing. But hey, why not? That would be interesting if why can't someone actually run for the Pirate Party? That'd be so interesting. But anyways, now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about the main topic of this video. Again, a very contentious one. And in fact, to make it even more contentious, I'm going to make Nico mad by wording it in a worse way in the title. When should Tulsi Gabbard drop out? If at all. Let me explain. With the 2020 election drawing near, and we're getting closer and closer to the date where people can actually vote, one thing is on people's minds. Is the vote going to get split? Because we still have a fuck ton of candidates. And that was the whole DNC plan, at least as we saw. There was going to be vote splitting from in between the candidates, which would lead to a contested convention. With many candidates running on similar platforms to Bernie's, but not quite as extreme. And in fact, many people even say, like, just outright, Warren is the Bernie spoiler because of how similar their candidacies are. Now, many people point out the fact that technically a candidate that is more similar to Bernie in a sense would be Tulsi Gabbard. But the thing is, nobody's saying, like, Tulsi is going to be the Bernie spoiler, but many people are saying Warren is going to be the Bernie spoiler. Now, I also kind of say, like, the spoiler myth is kind of, no. But, I mean, let's just be hypothetical in this scenario. Warren could take a bunch of delegates from Bernie and then give them to someone else, like Kamala Harris. That's what many people are afraid of. They're afraid that she's going to pull a George McGovern. Like, either keep the delegates for herself or give them to someone else. Because that's what George McGovern did. He took some delegates from Eugene McCarthy at the 1968 Democratic Convention and just kept them. He didn't give them to Hubert Humphrey. He just didn't give his to McCarthy, even though McCarthy had more of the people power behind him. Especially considering Warren has kind of made it clear, quote-unquote, that she won't be the fundamental change Bernie is, and she's going to cozy herself up more to the establishment than to the progressive wing that would really want her to be more of a fighter. And that's leading to a lot of people to worry of, like, what Warren's going to do. But the thing is, the same criticism is not levied towards Tulsi. Now, there's a number of reasons why that is. For starters, Tulsi seems more honest and more of an ally to Bernie because of what happened in 2016. Tulsi Gabbard had a position in the DNC and was seen as, like, a bastion of the new face of the Democratic Party, and she's, like, super popular and super loved. But then she decided to endorse Bernie Sanders, drop out of her DNC chair position, and call out the DNC for its unfair practices against Bernie. And just like that, the love for her was gone. Thanos away. Compare that to Bernie's supposed friend and best ally in the Senate, Elizabeth Warren, who did not do that, and in fact stayed out of the endorsement process entirely. And even compare that to Sherrod Brown, who's supposed to be Bernie's biggest ally in the Senate, as according to Wikipedia. It's like, despite the fact that Sherrod Brown is Bernie's closest ally in the Senate, he endorsed Hillary Clinton. Now, Sherrod Brown and Elizabeth Warren were both in the contention to be Hillary's running mate. That is known. And when many media outlets were pointing out, like, did you know Warren was in the running to be Hillary's running mate? And I was like, yeah, I thought we already knew that. That wasn't a secret. She was on the short list. Hillary Clinton released a freaking short list of people who are going to be her running mate. And Warren, Sherrod Brown, Tim Kaine, Tom Perez, Julian Castro, they were on the list. And WikiLeaks revealed that there was an even longer list that had a lot more people on it. Like Bill Gates and Bernie Sanders even. There were a lot of people that were on the list. But I mean, I guess maybe the whole idea was that they didn't know that she was properly vetted to be the candidate. Like, she actually was vetted. Hillary went to Warren and said, like, give me a paper to show me why you were good at this. But I mean, it's a given. Warren has kind of always had, like, I compare Warren to the, like, let me paint this scenario for you. Bernie, Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, and Elizabeth Warren, they're all the nerds at the lunch table. But Warren, she's the nerd that is so wants to get with the cool kids, which would be Hillary Clinton, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, that she is like, goes to the cool kids and is like, I'll do whatever you want, cool kids. And Tulsi was like that too, but Tulsi then learns, like, you know what, guy, like, it's like a movie. Tulsi's like the nerd. It's like, guys, I learned that being cool isn't all that it's cut out to be. I want to be with you guys, Bernie and Nina. Oh, Tulsi. Dun 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 dun. That's pretty much how it is. That's how I view them, I guess. And I mean, when Warren does literally everything that the Democratic, like, obvious Democratic strategists tell her to do, it's obvious that's what she's doing. She's just trying to appease them in any way she can. But anyways, back to Tulsi. Another reason that this criticism is not levied to her is because, well, in polls, she doesn't do so hot. Now, it could be because, I mean, like with every poll, they always oversample older voters, never really sample the base, and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, even if you did do that, I don't think you'd see that much big change in difference. Like, I will say there is going to be some difference. Like, let me explain. If the polls were done more accurately, and were done all across the base, were more polled everybody accurately, the top, 5 candidates that would have the most popularity would be Bernie, Tulsi, Yang, Warren, and, one of the corporatists. I don't know which one. Maybe Kamala. I don't know. Although maybe it could be Mayor Pete or whatever. But those are the ones who would probably have the most numbers that are willing to go vote for them. Even many people have been saying, in the indie media field, many people have been saying about Yang and Tulsi, don't underestimate them in caucus states. They're going to be a field to be reckoned with in caucus states. Which is true. Progressives normally do well in caucus states. And, don't underestimate them. But I mean, Tulsi's field is really kind of concentrated in certain fields. Like, I mean, to be honest, we're not entirely sure what her base is. Like, I mean, for most of the other candidates, we do kind of get a feel of what their base is. Like, Bernie's is socialists, social democrats, young kids. Yang's is like more tech-oriented people, maybe some libertarians, you know, like younger, maybe people who are younger than Bernie supporters, but, you know, somewhere in a different field. Warren's trying to appeal to women and like, I mean, she tries to be like the working family person, but Bernie really got that field down pretty much. Tulsi, it's a little different and a little difficult to somewhat check her base entirely. The best I could really say is like it seems that Tulsi's trying to more go for crossover appeal, like trying to bring in some Republicans and libertarians into the mix. But she does have, like, obviously leftist positions, and she's trying to ally herself with Bernie. But the thing is, Bernie's got a lot of that crowd already. Like, I mean, she has progressives who support her and want to vote for her. But, I mean, for the most part, a lot of them are more libertarian-leaning people. Like, one of her biggest endorsements is Ron Paul. It's not really the person you'd expect to be voting in a Democratic primary. I mean, I don't even think Ron Paul will vote for her, because I don't think he can. I don't know which state he's registered in, but he's he's a libertarian, so I don't think he can directly vote in the Democratic primary. Maybe he lives in an open primary state, I don't know. But anyways, like, that's kind of her thing. It's not entirely sure what her base is. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the base pretty much all can be exemplified with one major issue: anti-war. And that's a big issue. That is a good issue that she raised. But it's a weird thing. Like, wait, maybe the Gravel teens were trying to undermine the Tulsi campaign entirely, because everybody was putting their money in that Mike Gravel cap for some reason. Even though Tulsi already had, like, the anti-war base down, pretty much. So I don't see why Mike Gravel had to even be in the race. I don't know. But anyways, like, Tulsi Gabbard, her big issue is, of course, anti-war. She's been strictly non-interventionist for pretty much her entire congressional career, because she herself is a veteran and understands the cost of war personally. Like, even Bernie, even though he's anti-war, he doesn't necessarily have the best qualifications to say, like, oh, I'm super anti-war, I know firsthand. Like, he is anti-war in the sense that I'm anti-war. I've never fought in combat. I never have, and I probably never will. But the thing is, I understand what goes on. I've seen the statistics, and I've seen the problems that will arise from the cost of war. They're wasteful, and nobody really wants to go to war. I see all that, but the thing is, like, I don't know firsthand what it feels like to go to war, and I don't even really know a veteran, to be honest. I mean, I don't know them personally. I've seen veterans, and I know some people who've been in the military, but they've been, like, you know, online people. I've never actually met a veteran, I don't think. I think a family member of mine who's, like, older than, like, my grandfather or something fought in the war, but I don't fought in a war, but I don't think I know really anybody personally that fought in the war. Any war, really. And I know what you may be saying, like, wait, what do you mean, your grandfather? I thought, wouldn't you know your grandfather? That's a whole long story, but you don't need that. Know that. The low poll percentage is actually beneficial in a sense. It allows Tulsi to be more, like, actually, in fact, less careful with her words. Because Bernie, he has to somewhat be careful with his words. Like, I mean, he does know when to fight, obviously, but he also knows, like, not every hill he needs to die on. Like, when they say, hey, is Maduro a dictator? He doesn't have to go into technicals. He can just say, yeah, I think Maduro is a tyrant, tyrannical, maybe. Like a demagogue or something. I don't know. I don't remember entirely. He said, like, tyrant or something. But Tulsi, she's like polling at 1% in most polls. And is highly unlikely to get the nomination. So she can be as very clear and very honest about policies as possible. She can say, like, I don't think Maduro is an evil dictator because he was elected by his people. And we shouldn't be going in guns a-blazing to throw out this guy who was elected by his people. And she can be more honest on Julian Assange. She can pretty much be the backup Bernie needs to be more upfront on policy. And that is a good thing. But the thing is, why do this? Why does she need to run for president? I mean, like, think about it. Why does Tulsi need to run for president? Again, you could say, very easy. Raise these issues. But these issues have been raised. Now what? Does Tulsi go forward to the convention? Because here's the thing, we all say, like, this idea of, like, Tulsi's going to give her delegates to Bernie. Well, yes, but will that help? I mean, Hawaii doesn't have that many delegates. Those are the only delegates people can actually see Tulsi winning. In every other state, I don't know, she's just there. She'll do well in Iowa, but wouldn't that mean her delegates would be taken away from Bernie, in a sense? I mean, yeah, she'll give them back, but I mean, she doesn't really need to be there. The presidential run is kind of, we got our progressive in the presidential field now. Now that the issues have been raised, do we really need Tulsi to continue to be in the race? Or should Tulsi say, yes, but Bernie's also good on these issues as well? Now, of course, you may say, well, I mean, that seems unfair. Why do this to Tulsi? Because I know Tulsi's somewhat smarter than this. She's a smart person. I don't think she's a dum-dum. I don't think she has an empty hole in her head where her brain's supposed to be. I think Tulsi is an intelligent person, which is why she probably needs to think a little bit more logically about this. Now, the thing is, she probably might not drop out entirely because she doesn't agree with Bernie on everything. That is true. She does not agree with Bernie on everything. She calls herself a hawk on the war on terror, whereas Bernie, I don't think he's ever referred to himself as a war hawk ever. Tulsi has this whole new thing of, like, Medicare choice or something. Like, there's more specifics to it, but I mean, basically what happened was she came out and said, like, I believe in supplemental private insurance. Then everyone was like, that seems weird because Bernie's for eliminating private insurance, but whatevs. And then Tulsi Gabbard said, like, oh, I'm actually in favor of the idea of if you want the baseline covered, the baseline will be covered, but if you also want to buy private insurance or you want to keep your healthcare plan, you can keep it. And then people are like, wait, hold on a second, this is a public option. And then she's like, well, actually, no, what I meant to say was I'm more in favor of, like, what I said before, like, the baseline is covered, but you can also buy supplemental private insurance. I'm like, oh, well, okay then. You didn't really need to specify on that. You could have just said that on day one. Why'd you have to say all this stuff like, oh, but, But you gotta, if you want to keep your union plan, you can keep your plan. It's like, that's private, and that's public option talk. And then, of course, I'm gonna hear Nico House in the corner saying, but she's in favor of Jayapal's bill. Jayapal's bill's better. I'm gonna link in the Twitter description, not Twitter description. I'm gonna link a tweet wall in the description about how the two Medicare for All bills in the House and the Senate are similar. I went section by section into a Word copy finder, like the thing that compares two documents, and pretty much said, here are the similarities and differences between the two bills. Now, Nico, if you're listening to this, which I hope you are, because I'll probably keep tagging you until you watch this, it's fine to like Tulsi. That's fine. You can support Tulsi if you want. But you need to stop standing for her. There are many times where people bring up legitimate criticisms of Tulsi Gabbard, and then you're just like, nope. Just nope. It's the one reason why I don't entirely think I would really watch Nico House, because, let me give you a couple examples. When there was that whole thing about the anti-BDS bill, and Tulsi Gabbard and Ro Khanna and supposed progressive Katie Porter voted in favor of it, whereas 17 people voted against it, many people were in arms saying, Tulsi, Ro, how could you betray us like this? How could you betray BDS? And then Tulsi Gabbard said, well, the reason why I support this is because I support a two-state solution. Blah, 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 blah. And Nico rushed to her defense like, no. This is a resolution. It doesn't do anything. Well, I mean, some resolutions do something, but this resolution didn't do anything. All it did was condemn BDS. Nico, whether the resolution banned BDS or not, Tulsi is on the record condemning the BDS movement for quote-unquote delegitimizing the state of Israel. That is on Tulsi's voting record now. That is on her record now. During that whole healthcare fiasco I mentioned like 2 minutes ago, all those times where people questioned Tulsi Gabbard's legitimacy on Medicare for All, it's kind of funny. The first time Nico was like, well, I mean, the Medicare for All bill isn't even that good either. To be honest, it's not that good. It's a watered-down version of what Bernie had before. That's why Tulsi supports Jayapal's bill. No. The reason why she supports Jayapal's bill is because she's in the House, Nico. If I were in the House of Representatives, I would support Jayapal's bill. Because it's the only bill I can support. It is the only one I can support. Until the Medicare for All bill in the Senate passes the Senate and then goes to the House. She can't support the Senate version because she's not in the Senate. Nico, you're smarter than this. I know you're smarter than this. Me and Nico even got into an argument where it's weird. He got into this weird specifics where it was like, I told him, like, the Medicare for All bill covers pretty much everything. The only major medical procedure that doesn't cover is plastic surgery. And then he said, I read the bill, and the bill does not say we cover everything except plastic surgery. And I was like, Nico, you're a smart person. You're smarter than this. What I'm saying is that the bill lists all of the things that it covers, and the only major medical procedure that is not listed is, say it with me now, plastic surgery. Covers dental, covers ambulance rides, covers pretty much everything. But Nico, you don't have to be that unintelligent about this. You can be smart about this. And there's even another time where Tulsi voted, well, I mean, she didn't technically vote. I think she did, yeah. She voted on condemning Hamas for the human shields problem. Now, if you don't know what I mean, Hamas is always being accused by Israel by putting up human shields of Palestinian citizens, and it's a trap, and it's like, we have to go through these Palestinian citizens to get to Hamas. Tulsi voted for that, and it passed with unanimous consent in the Senate. Now, here's the thing. I know what some of you people who are anti-Bernie or pro-Tulsi or whatever, you're going to say, see, it passed in unanimous consent in the Senate. That means that Bernie technically voted for it. Well, I mean, technically it just means he didn't cause ill will for it. But yes, that is true. But here's the thing. I don't stand for Bernie. You can criticize Bernie as much as you want. That is fair. If the criticisms are fair and valid, they are fair and valid. But Nico doesn't treat every criticism of Tulsi Gabbard as fair and valid. He treats them all like smears. Now, of course, I'm not going to say, well, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, she is an Assad apologist. That's just a given. It's like, no, I'm not stupid. But you need to treat criticisms of Tulsi that are legitimate as legitimate. Now, I've given all this criticism of Tulsi and Nico, and that's all well and good, but here's the thing. Listen. If Tulsi was being replaced with a nice, caring, and perfectly respectable person just like her in the House of Representatives, I would feel no ill will with Tulsi Gabbard continuing her presidential campaign. But the thing is, Tulsi Gabbard does not get that pleasure. Tulsi Gabbard's major opponent in the primary for her home seat is Kai Kahili. Now, Kai Kahili, originally looking at his Twitter and looking at, like, he was followed by Tulsi Gabbard and looking at his website, I was like, well, I mean, Kai Kahili seems to be a decent person and could be a decent replacement for Tulsi. But the thing is, turns out, he's not. He's best buddies with Neera Tanden and Bakari Sellers. And whenever he talks about Tulsi Gabbard, all he does is say, like, we need a less divisive figure in the House of Representatives. We need a real Democrat in the House of Representatives. We need real representation. We need someone who's not an Assad apologist, not a Russian probe, not someone who disavows our U.S. intelligence. So, looks like Kai Kahili is making up the Molten Swalwell strategy. Let me explain the Molten Swalwell strategy for those who don't know. I'm just going to call it the Swalwell strategy. The Swalwell strategy is a political strategy that I have traced back to Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell ran a campaign against Pete Stark, who was a progressive incumbent in one of California's districts. He ran against Pete Stark as the new face with new ideas and a progressive face. Like a progressive face with new ideas. But he wasn't actually more progressive than Pete Stark. In fact, he was less progressive than Pete Stark. But the thing is, just because he was young and a new face, he can get away with it. He doesn't campaign on the issues, but campaigns on why this person should be replaced, but not on why this person should be, like, why I'm a better choice than this person. This strategy mostly works for moderates who are primarying against an old progressive guy, and it sometimes leads to the establishment and the progressive base working together. Another example of it was in Seth Moulton when he ran against John Tierney for his congressional seat. Same thing happened. To an extent, Ayanna Pressley expressed this strategy against Mike Caporano. She was like, well, I mean, yeah, me and him will probably have the same voting record, but we need a new face with new ideas. Can't run on new ideas if your voting records will be the same. But she did win, and I think she is somewhat progressive, so maybe it's not entirely the case. John Kennedy is currently doing this with Ed Markey, and it seems like Kakahili is doing that with Tulsi Gabbard. Even though Tulsi's made a lot of bad votes, even though there's a lot more progressive people in the House of Representatives like Ro Khanna and AOC, I think that it'd be best if Tulsi Gabbard went back to the House of Representatives rather than continuing a presidential run that might not go anywhere. But I'm not saying Tulsi should drop out. I'm just saying it might be the best idea for her to drop out. If Tulsi continues with the presidential run, I'd be 100% fine with it. I'm just saying we probably need to start thinking in a little more strategic ways now that we're closer to the time where progressives actually get to cast their votes. And it would be better to have a multi-pronged approach in taking down the corporatists rather than just putting all our eggs in the presidential basket. Coming up next time, we'll be talking about how my egg can only be in the presidential basket in this race, at least in my home state. I mean, maybe in the House race too, but that's different. So yeah, ultimately, do I think Tulsi Gabbard should drop out? Not necessarily. She doesn't have to. But I would recommend to her, like if I was in her campaign staff, I would recommend to her, maybe we should go back to the House of Representatives. But if she does not ultimately decide to run for her old House seat back, she should be vice president. Now many people have been saying, well, I want her to be Secretary of State. No, fuck Secretary of State. She's either in her House seat or she's VP. Those are my only options. If Tulsi's neither of those, no. But I mean, to be fair, Tulsi technically, she had 2 chances to run for Senate, but she didn't take those chances. That's another small complaint I'm going to give. Why don't progressives take the mantle and run up for higher offices? Keith Ellison, you didn't run for Minnesota Senate, you ran for freaking Attorney General. Nobody gives a shit. Why didn't Dennis Kucinich run against one of the senators or something? Why didn't you use 2016 to run for the Senate seat? That's probably all I have to say on the Tulsi situation. Tulsi, I love you, girl. You do some not so good things, but ultimately you're still the second best candidate in the race. So you should probably reconsider going to the House again. Oh, but one deterrent is if Tulsi drops out, Warren will have to be my number 2, and I don't want that to happen, so never mind, Tulsi, stay in the race. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.